Do you ever say yes to something, but then later wonder how you're going to get it done? That happened to me recently. Some dear friends of ours asked me to make some sourdough loaves for them to give as gifts. They wanted 7 loaves. There seemed to be obstacle after obstacle. I began to wonder if I could get it done. But I began to realize that the routines I've built over the years in the kitchen made it possible for me to accomplish this task. The first obstacle I came to as I began thinking through the process was that I was very low on flour. My friend specifically requested that the loaves be made with organic flour. My Play-Doh supply of standard flour just wasn't going to cut it. I usually stock my pantry with organic flour for eating from either Azure Standard or Costco. But with the extra holiday baking I had been doing, and because I was between an Azure order and my Costco shopping, I was very low on flour. Fortunately, one of my weekend routines is putting in a grocery order for the next week, and I was able to add the flour I needed to that order. Because I was going to be mixing up 4 double loaf sourdough recipes for these 7 loaves for my friend, my starter needed attention. I needed to bulk it up to have enough starter for all these loaves, so I split my starter between 2 half-gallon jars and then fed them as I normally would. The next day, we had church in the morning and a family Advent service in the evening. The night before, I decided to mix up a double batch of fresh milled sourdough hamburger buns for dinner that night. I doubled it so I could throw the extra in the freezer for another meal. This bulking up when possible is another kitchen routine that helped me accomplish the tasks I needed to get done this weekend. I had expected to throw the extra buns in the freezer, but my kids brought friends home after church and they were going to stay through dinner that night, and we were going to take them back with us to the Advent service. My routine of bulking up meant that I did not have to miss a beat in the work of the sourdough loaves because I already had what I needed to feed the extra crew that spent the afternoon with us. When I was a young mom of young children, and by young children I mean under the age of 5, having more young kids in the house meant I was on duty. The little years are fun and exploring, but they are very needy years. And I had to lower my expectations of what I could accomplish for that day to give them the time they needed from me. Now, as a mom to older children, having more kids in the house makes it possible to accomplish more. Sure, there are more mouths to feed, but they all entertain each other and their needs are fewer. So if you are a young mom, hang in there. You're doing good work. Don't grow weary. You'll reap the benefits soon. +15 years ago, when I started making things from scratch, I was constantly amazed by the people who did it. And then I started doing it myself and realized that anything that you can buy in the grocery store, most likely you can make yourself at home. And sourdough is the one that surprises me the most. It's simply 3 ingredients: salt, flour, and water in a varied combination that produces a delicious result. And it's so simple, and oftentimes the labels are crazy long at the grocery store for something as simple as sourdough, when knowing that I can make it at home with just those 3 ingredients is always a marvel to me. Routines have been a game changer for me. In the early days of motherhood and homemaking, I tried to be very scheduled about everything. I know many people who do this and thrive with a schedule, but I was not one of them. I find it suffocating. Something always came up that interrupted that schedule. New baby, sickness, vacation, company visiting us, church events, and I was feeling behind and buried. But routines change the game. When I come to the end of the week and the milk is running out, I know it's time to put in a grocery order. Routines just tell you what the next thing to do is. There is no finishing, it is just a gentle cycle on repeat. Another obstacle in my baking of these loaves was making sure I had enough fridge space for the bannetons. Another one of my kitchen routines is cleaning out the fridge before I put in my grocery order. I like to take inventory of what I have and order what I'll need for the next week, and then give what is about to spoil to the chickens or plan to use it up for us. I'll also wipe down shelves and the outside of the fridge. While I would normally be cleaning out the fridge at this time in the week, this one needed to be a bit more aggressive because of the amount of space I needed. While cleaning out the fridge, I found the bowl of chicken bones I had been setting aside to make chicken broth. I had used the other parts of the chicken for other meals earlier in the week and kept the bones for making a stock. So I pulled that out and threw it in the crock pot. And then in the freezer, I always keep a bag of bits from celery, carrots, or onions that I'm chopping to add for broth or stock at any point. So I pulled that bag out and found that it was kind of low on carrots and onions. So I added some more carrots and onions, garlic, herbs, apple cider vinegar, water, salt, pepper, and set the crock pot to low simmer for 24 hours. And tomorrow we will have broth. One of the things I love about sourdough is that it is a slow process. And so in the in-between times, when I don't need to perform a stretch and fold or mix it up, I can be working on cleaning out my fridge and making broth to prepare for the next week. And that's one of the routines also in my kitchen, is just when I have time, making the best use of the time so that I can be ready for the next thing. So making broth a day early means that I'll have it for a dinner tomorrow or another meal later in the week, or I can put it in the freezer, or I can can it, or I can make up a pot of beans or start another round of sourdough something, so that way I have it for later. And just because I don't have a plan for that thing yet doesn't mean I shouldn't make it. So by making that chicken broth, I didn't have a plan yet, but I know if I have chicken broth, I can easily make a soup, or I can make a pot pie, or it can be added to a variety of different pasta dishes or sauces or whatever. And then it makes one less thing that I have to remember later. In order to make this large quantity of sourdough, I needed to consider the bowls and bannetons. I had to use bowls for mixing that were slightly smaller than I prefer, knowing the dough would rise above the brim. I also knew that because I only have 3 bannetons, I was going to need some of those bowls to double as bannetons. Baking day came and I only had one Dutch oven. I used to have a second one, but it was enameled and started chipping. For safety purposes, and because sourdough is baked at such a high heat, I chucked it. But that did mean that I was down to one Dutch oven. This was not a problem, however, it just meant that the baking time was going to take longer. I have since remedied that and bought a less pretty, unenameled cast iron one. I packaged these loaves up with a Christmas sticker and label for this or that baking with the ingredients listed. All said and done, I baked a total of 8 loaves, so we had one left to go with our soup that evening.